build the temple, city walls, and teach the Torah, as the exiles have returned to Jerusalem.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play Ezra and Nehemiah, game designed by S.J. McDonald and Shem Phillips and published by Garfield Games.
And hello everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant here from Meeple University.
Okay, let's go to the classroom.
The book of Ezra and Nehemiah recounts the 6th century BC missions of Zerubbabel, Ezra and Nehemiah to the city of Jerusalem, where they restored the city walls and the Hebrew society within. In the game Ezra and Nehemiah, players will recreate these missions. Players will clear rubble and rebuild the city walls and gates, collaborate to construct the second temple, and fuel the sacred altar, tend to the families camped around the city, and appoint scribes to teach the Torah, all in the aim of gaining points. The game plays over 3 rounds, and whoever scores the most points will be the winner. I won't take you step by step through setup, but I'll introduce you to the game's components. This is the main board, and around the outside is the collapsing Jerusalem city wall. This includes a number of named spaces called gates, each of which has its own matching card beside the board, and unnamed spaces which are simply walls. All of these are covered with random cubes in the game's 4 resources, cinders, stone, wood and gold, representing the rubble of these collapsed wall pieces. In the 4-player game, only the 4 corner gates begin the game intact, and at 2 or 3 players, some additional walls or gates will begin pre-constructed. The scribe section has a variable setup of tiles with different types of tiles going in different rows, with the 3 hero cards set to the side ready for use. At 2 players, the outermost hero tiles will start with white workers, a special mechanism for the 2-player game. This section represents the temple with a different overlay tile used at each player count. Then give each player a player board and all of their pieces. There are 3 coloured blessing markers, which are used to mark these tracks. There are 5 of these upgradable and double-sided insert tiles which slot into the player boards. Players gain these randomly, so there's some asymmetry between players. And players gain starting resources from the supply based on what's printed on this tile. All cube resources are stored on this tile during the game. Players may hold as many cubes as they wish during a turn, but must discard down to this tile's capacity at the end of the turn. Players start with 5 silver and 3 food. These are kept in an off-board supply and there's no limit to how much a player may have. Players have a shuffled deck of wall cards and a shuffled deck of character cards from which they draw a starting hand of 4. There are 3 common markers. This marker goes on the score track at 10. Your tent goes on the tent track at the 12 o'clock position. And your flame goes at the start of the altar track. In this specific case only, the stacking order matters. You'll determine the first player, and then the first player's marker will be on top with the last player on the bottom. It's whosever marker is on the bottom of any given stack on the altar track who is considered ahead. And as a general rule, any time there is a tie in the game, it is broken by whoever is ahead on this track. Finally, we need to talk about workers. There are 16 workers in each player colour, and to begin the game you'll have 6 of those in your personal supply. 1 begins in this coloured space beneath the temple as a Levite, and 1 begins on one of the pre-constructed corner gates as a gatekeeper, chosen in reverse turn order. This increases to 2 gatekeepers on different gates at 2 players. All remaining workers go into a general supply, and you'll need to gain them to your personal supply before you can use them. You'll often place workers on the main board to take actions, and when you do that, you're placing that worker permanently. And you'll sometimes place workers on your player board to take actions, and in this case you're placing it only until the end of the current round. You'll gain those workers back at the end of the round. You will need to make sure you build up a good supply of food each round, because almost every worker you have in play will need to be fed at the end of each round. So, with all of that initial context, let's have a look at how to play the game. Ezra and Nehemiah is played in 3 rounds. In each round, each player will take a total of 6 turns, starting from the first player and going clockwise around the table. After all players have taken their turns, you will resolve Sabbath, which involves end-of-round upkeep, payment of food for your workers, and intermediate scoring. After the 3rd Sabbath, you'll proceed to endgame scoring. Throughout the game, this white icon represents points gained immediately, and this gold icon represents points scored at the end of the game. And the player with the most total points will be the winner. On your turn, you must play 1 character card from your hand into a slot of your tableau. You may play into an empty slot, or you may cover up a single other card which has previously been placed. However, you can't cover a pile which already has 2 cards, meaning that after your 6 turns, you'll have exactly 3 piles of exactly 2 cards. After making your placement, you'll take your actions. You may take 1 main action, 1 auxiliary action, place 1 worker as a trader in this column, and place 1 worker as an elder in this column. Each of these steps is optional and may be resolved in any order. First, we'll look at the main actions. There are 3 different main actions and each is represented by a different banner colour, red, grey or blue. After placing your card, choose any one of the 3 banner colours, even one not represented on the card you just played. Count up the total number of that coloured banner which you have available, and you'll take the corresponding action with strength equal to that number of banners. You'll get banners from the visible cards on top of the piles in your tableau, from any cards which you've tucked underneath the side of your player board, and we'll see how this happens later on. And if you choose to appoint an elder of the matching colour, then you'll gain additional banners for this action only as well. So in this instance, I could have done the red action with a strength of 1, the blue action with a strength of 2, the grey action with a strength of 4, or perhaps appointed this elder to get the grey action with a strength of 6, as well as 1 bonus cinder. The grey action is all about repairing the city's walls and gates. To start this action, choose a single wall or gate space which is not yet being constructed. If there is any rubble on the space that you choose, then you must spend your grey banners removing that rubble. Spending those banners at the cost shown here. 1 banner to remove cinders, 2 to remove a stone or wood, and 3 to remove gold. So here, for example, it would cost 6 grey banners to remove all of this rubble. If I had only 5 grey banners, I'd be able to remove only 2 out of the 3 cubes, but could do so in any combination. Any rubble that you clear, you collect to your storage. Every wall space on the board shows one of the 3 blessing icons. The gates do not. If, as part of your action, you clear the last rubble marker off a wall space, gain 1 of the matching blessing, advancing the corresponding marker 1 step on your player board. There is a reward at the top of each of the 6 columns of these tracks, and you gain that only once all 3 of your markers have reached or exceeded that column. If when you take this action you choose a space which has no rubble, or after you've cleared all the rubble you still have enough grey banners remaining, then you may build the wall or gate. The cost to do this is the grey banners shown on the space and the resources shown next to it. In all cases, the resources are a combination of stone and wood, but you may choose to spend a gold or 3 grey banners to reduce that cost by 1. If you build a wall, draw the top 3 cards from your personal wall deck. Look at them and then choose which one you want to build. Place it into the space, you'll see it shows your colour, and gain the immediate reward printed on it. Then return one of your rejected cards to the top of your wall deck and the other to the bottom. If you construct a gate, find the matching named gate card from the supply, and gain any silver that might be on that card. Place the gate on the space and take a worker from your personal supply and place it onto this worker space, gaining the immediate reward next to the worker. You are now the gatekeeper for this gate. Finally, each time a wall is constructed next to a gate, or vice versa, the owner of the wall and the owner of the gate gain the reward shown above the gate. So here, both blue and red would gain a cinder and a stone. If the adjacent wall and gate are owned by the same player, you gain the benefit only once. Gates form a major part of the first of the two auxiliary actions, trade, and so we'll have a look at that action now. On your turn, you may trade using the trade effect of the card that you played on this turn. Each card names one of the 10 gates. If it's one of the 4 corner gates, then you will have an infinite trade effect like this. And as your auxiliary action, can make that trade as many times as you wish. Here, for example, spending 3 stone to gain 6 silver. A card with this icon will depict one of the 6 buildable gates. To take the trade, first pay the gatekeeper 1 silver. So if the gate's been built, pay directly to the gatekeeper, and if the gate is yet to be built, pay to the card. For a pre-built gate at 2 players, pay to the supply. Then resolve exactly one of the 2 depicted trade options. Here, for example, 2 silver to get a new worker from the general supply, or 6 silver to get 2 new workers. Silver paid for this part of the trade always goes to the general supply, not to the gatekeeper. Next, we'll look at the blue main action. This lets you interact with these 2 parts of the board and allows you to appoint 1 scribe to teach a scroll from the Torah and perform 1 movement of your tent around the city. You may do these 2 parts in either order and may choose to take only one of those 2 parts of the action. To appoint a scribe, choose a scroll from which it is possible to trace a path to the bottom of this set of tiles through other tiles already containing scribes. Right now, the only options would be the 3 tiles at the bottom. While in this layout, any of these 6 tiles would be available to any player. Pay the cost in blue banners and either gold or silver to the left of the row of the scroll you've chosen. So for this tile, it's 6 blue banners and gold. Then also pay 1 silver to each other player's scribe through which you have to trace the path to the bottom. So in this case, red would need to pay blue 1 silver, but would be able to use their own scribe for the last step. Place a worker from your personal supply onto the scroll, and if there is an immediate benefit, gain it now. Finally, if you were the first to place a worker in a certain row, gain any of the food in the stack to the right-hand side of that row. If you're playing with 2 players, you'll have the white workers who start on these spaces. The white workers open up the spaces above them, so here red could go here, but would need to pay 1 silver to the supply for using the white worker. However, the white workers also don't block the player's workers. I could take this space here and it would push the white worker to the next step upwards and outwards along the track. The white workers do not claim the right-hand side food bonus. There are 3 different types of scrolls. The bottom row contains the heroes. Take the matching hero card from the display. Gain the immediate reward. This will be only the resource on the left if it's round 1 when you get this card. It will be the left 2 resources if it's round 2, and it will be all of them if it's round 3. And then slot the card underneath the right-hand side of your player board. It now counts as a permanent banner in its matching colour. The second and third rows are all ongoing passive abilities which will make your other actions stronger, and the top row is a powerful end-of-game scoring objective. Each scribe you place will score this number of victory points at the end of the game. The second option for your blue main action is tenting, and you may choose at most one of these 4 tenting options, spending the blue banners and possibly a resource to move your tent this many spaces clockwise around the map. Each time you move your tent 1 step, gain whichever resource you cross. There are many other effects which will give you tent steps, which includes any time you gain a worker but have none left in supply, or gain a blessing step when you're at the end of its track. The red main action relates to constructing the temple, fueling the altar, and sending your workers to be Levites. Placing a Levite costs no red banners. You may do it at most once per red main action, and you may do it either before or after the rest of your action. To place a Levite, take a worker from your personal supply, add it to the next row of your column of the Levite track, pay the food shown on the left-hand side of that row, and gain the reward shown on the right-hand side. The other 2 options which form part of your red main action are to spend construction resources to build the temple, or to spend fuel resources at the altar. Each resource placement for either of these sub-actions costs a number of red banners and requires 1 Levite. Put another way, since I only have 2 Levites, I'm only allowed to place a total of 2 resources as part of my action, even if I had sufficient red banners to place more. You may also choose to forego any of your Levites placements to gain extra red banners. So if I had 4 red banners and really wanted to take this 5 red banner action once, I could use my other Levite to count as that 5th red banner, knowing that I'd only need one of those Levites to place the single resource. If you use this action to build the temple, spend the red banners and then take a stone, a wood, or a gold and place it in the leftmost open slot of the row you've chosen. If you place stone or wood, gain 1 point, and if you place gold, gain 2 points. Then gain the reward at the end of your chosen row. If your placement fills up one of the 3 differently shaded sections on the temple, and remember that this will form a different pattern depending on your player count, you gain a reward of 2 food and then trigger Levite scoring. The player with the most Levites scores 2 points, and fewest Levites loses 1 point. Remember, all ties are decided by position on the altar track. Then everyone gains 1 silver per Levite. To fuel the altar, spend 1 red banner and a cinder to move 1 step on the altar track, or 3 red banners and a wood to move 2 steps. Immediately gain any reward which you reach or pass on the bottom of the track. So to summarize the red main action once again, either before or after you start spending your banners, you may appoint 1 Levite. And when you do spend your red banners, you may place up to 1 resource per Levite you have in either the temple or the altar to gain the rewards. If you spend fewer resources than Levites, then each leftover Levite counts as 1 red banner. On your turn, you may take 1 auxiliary action, and we've already seen one of the options, which is trading with a gate. Your other option is to upgrade a development tile. These are the 5 tiles at the top of your player board. Pay the upgrading cost, which is shown in its top left corner, and gain the immediate reward, which is printed in the green scroll. Then flip the tile over to its opposite side. All of the storage tiles are the same, giving you unlimited storage for the rest of the game, as well as this bonus effect, while the other tiles are slightly asymmetrical between the players. Your last option on your turn is to appoint a trader, which means to take any 1 worker from your personal supply and place it into one of the slots in this column. This lets you immediately take the resources printed on that space. And so that concludes your turn. You will have played 1 character card, and then, in any order, and optionally in all cases, taken 1 main action, 1 auxiliary action, appointed 1 trader, and 1 elder. If there are any character cards remaining in your deck, draw back up to 4. After all players have taken 6 turns, it's time for Sabbath. And first you will prepare for Sabbath. If you've unlocked any effects which are triggered by this icon, then you resolve them now. So here I would gain 2 food, and I would get to retrieve either a trader or elder back from my player board. Then any workers currently in your personal supply, you can appoint them either to be labourers or to be farmers. Do note, they're not working on the Sabbath. Thematically, they've been working here all week. Gain the resources produced by those workers. So here, each of these 2 farmers would give me 2 food and 1 silver. And this labourer could produce either 2 non-gold resources or 1 non-gold resource and 2 silver. To finish the preparation step, check the judgment of the prophets. You'll have had a random card placed here during setup, and the 2 prophet markers will stand on these numbered spaces depending on the round you're in. If you're ahead of both prophets, gain the reward in the right-hand column. If you're behind both prophets, suffer the penalty in the left column. Here it's losing 1 food. And if you're in between, gain or lose based on the middle. You can now reset the prophets to their new positions for the next round. Now proceed to Sabbath. You must first feed your workers. Count up all workers which you've unlocked except for your Levites. So here there's 5 on my player board, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the main board. A total of 9. The Levites don't count because you've effectively already paid their food. You must pay 1 food per worker and lose 2 victory points for each worker you're unable to feed. Next, you'll tuck character cards from your tableau to score points. You'll tuck 1 card at first Sabbath, 2 cards at second Sabbath, and 1 at the end of the game. Choose the relevant number of cards among the 6 that you've played this round. Slot the card so that all that's visible is the single banner in the top left corner and the scoring objective in the bar at the top. Now score the objectives on all character cards placed in this round and in all previous rounds. Finally, whoever is leading on the altar track gains a worker in the first 2 rounds or points at the end of the game. Now reset for the next round. The first player marker is handed 1 step clockwise. All workers on your player board are returned to your personal supply. All of the cards on your player board are shuffled into a new draw deck. And if there are fewer than 4 cards in your hand, draw up to 4. After 3 rounds, the game is over and players will proceed to final scoring. You'll convert all of your leftover resources and food into silver, and then score 1 point for every 5 silver. Every development tile you've flipped scores 2 points. Every wall you've placed or gate that you own scores its printed value. And finally, any scribe you've placed scores points based on its row, and every top row scribe scores points based on its endgame scoring objective. The player with the highest score wins, and if tied, the altar track breaks the tie. And that's how to play Ezra and Nehemiah. Do check out the project page for the game. We'll put a link to that in the description below.
Thanks so much for watching. Your like and comments are much appreciated. Subscribe to see what's coming and let us know what games you've been playing. See you next time.